And we're kicking off today with AEW Dynamite, as this week's show saw the promotion continue to build towards Forbidden Door. For the past couple of months now, Ricky Starks has been engaged in a feud with the Bullet Club, namely Jay White and Juice Robinson, and Starks and White headlined this week's Dynamite. After the Guns interfered, White hit the Blade Runner on Starks for the win, but the excitement didn't just stop there. PW Insider reports after Dynamite went off the air, Jay White made his way back while Ricky Starks slowly recovered and got a big reaction, as he also made his way out of the ring. Starks is certainly proving to be popular with fans, as the reaction following this week's Dynamite proves. And what do you think will be next for him after his loss to Jay White this week? As AEW's world champion, MJF is kept plenty busy with the promotion, and it's very rare to see him appear outside of the company, but the Salt of the Earth will soon be coming to a convention. Monster Mania Convention has announced that MJF and his Devil Mask will be coming to their upcoming event in Cherry Hill, New Jersey in August, and those who attend can expect MJF to be his heel self at the convention. From one AEW World Champion to another, as CM Punk's return is just days away, and for a long time, it seemed that this return would never ever happen. Punk certainly made a lot of enemies following All Out, hence why AEW will be undergoing a roster split when AEW Collision launches, but one man still on his side is Tony Khan. Speaking about CM Punk's return to Sports Illustrated, Khan acknowledged the significance of Punk's presence both to the fans and the company, despite everything that has transpired. He said, "We haven't seen CM Punk in a long time, since All Out last September. He looked great in his last match. To the fans, he's very important. He's very important to the company, too. He's been a big draw for us and historically throughout his career, and the launch of the new show happens to line up with the schedule on the rehab of his triceps injury." Of course, it wasn't the triceps injury that led to AEW banning all mention of Punk on TV, even going as far as to cover his face on a production truck, but it shouldn't be a surprise that Khan didn't acknowledge the controversy that stemmed from All Out. Khan has always refused to comment on the fight at All Out, and is hoping to move forward with Punk's return. And do you think it's right for Punk to be given this second chance? Share your thoughts in the comments. As CM Punk proved at All Out, things can get very heated backstage at a wrestling event, and often what is happening behind the scenes is more interesting than what we see on TV. For years, Eva Marie was part of WWE and saw plenty transpire behind the curtain, including a particularly memorable moment between the two former world champions. In a video shared on her YouTube channel, the Total Divas alum was asked by Vogue if she had any memorable backstage moments in WWE and recalled a showdown between Brock Lesnar and Chris Jericho. She said, "Oh my gosh, there's so many, but one in particular that sticks out in my head is I'm in Gorilla backstage and Brock Lesnar, Chris Jericho just finished their match and things kind of didn't go as planned, and Brock is definitely frightening, and there was an altercation with him and Chris and Vince and it was wild." We don't know for certain what incident Marie is referring to, though it is well known that Jericho was ready to fight backstage with Lesnar at SummerSlam 2016, after he believed that Brock took liberties during his match with Randy Orton, which resulted in the Viper being busted open the hard way. Eva Marie's second tenure with WWE ended in 2021, but she has openly spoken about making a return, and if she does, we're sure there'll be plenty of more memorable moments that play out behind the scenes. Now, AEW has a massive roster, and over the years, fans have argued that the roster is sometimes too big for its own good. There have been examples of signings being treated as a huge deal only to get lost in the shuffle, and one such wrestler who has been lost is Serena Deeb. Deeb has plenty of experience in wrestling, including in the NWA and WWE, but hasn't been seen in some time for AEW, and things aren't looking good for the Straight Edge Society alum. When Fightful Select asked about Deeb, they were told that there has been no word about any creative plans for her, and that she has not been around backstage as of late. Serena Deeb was gaining some steam as a heel on the AEW women's roster, but that was halted when she vanished, and it fully appears that the promotion has moved on from her. It would be a real shame for Deeb to continue going unutilized in AEW, as she has plenty of experience that could benefit the promotion's women's division, but until something changes, don't expect to see her on TV. More from AEW, and Konosuke Takeshita made headlines when he aligned himself with Don Callis at Double or Nothing, turning heel for the first time since he arrived in the promotion. This week on AEW Dynamite, Takeshita won a quick match while they played footage on the big screen of him attacking Kenny Omega, and there are big plans for the Japanese wrestler. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer noted that AEW has plans to make Konosuke Takeshita a top babyface for the company, but there is no desire to rush these plans. Brian Alvarez added that Konosuke Takeshita eventually turning on Don Callis could certainly make him a big babyface, but reiterated Meltzer's point that he will be a heel and with Callis for the time being. Despite speculation that Takeshita would be joining the Blackpool Combat Club, that doesn't appear to be the case, at least at this time, as he and Callis are sticking together right now. Konosuke Takeshita has a ton of talent, and one day will make an excellent top babyface in AEW, but for now, expect to see the Japanese wrestler to show just how vile he can be. Now, Aubrey Edwards has many roles within AEW, including being a podcast co-host and a vital part of the AEW Games department, but to fans, she is best known for her role as a referee. As of late, Edwards has been a thorn in the side of Jeff and Karen Jarrett, Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh, and now the official will be entering the ring as an AEW wrestler. During this week's AEW Rampage taping, an intriguing confrontation unfolded as Jeff Jarrett and his group directed their attention towards Aubrey Edwards, and she received backup from Mark Briscoe. It was confirmed that Jeff Jarrett, Karen Jarrett, and Jay Lethal will be squaring off against the trio of Mark Briscoe, Papa Briscoe, and Aubrey Edwards in the official's debut match for AEW. This announcement comes just 1 week after Edwards and Karen Jarrett got physical on the June 2nd edition of Rampage, with fans questioning what this means for Aubrey's long-term future. We don't know if this match will be a one-off or be the start of a full-time transition for Edwards from referee to wrestler, but soon the AEW official will have another role with the company. In March, wrestling veteran Davey Richards was accused of domestic violence, and while denying the claim, would announce his retirement from wrestling. Since then, we've heard very little from Richards or his current situation, but this week, the former Impact Wrestling star gave an update with a very candid social media post. In the post, Richards said that the past 3 months have been tempestuous to say the least, and at one point, he considered taking his own life. Speaking about the accusations, Richards said that a couple bitter exes are responsible for what he claims were false allegations, and said that they succeeded in destroying his wrestling career. Richards even said that one of his accusers has said her claims were false, while the other hasn't, and said that it is awful that everyone bought the claims against him. Speaking about his future, Richards said that he is dedicating himself to studying medicine, as well as being a father, and said he forgives those who have made accusations against him. Richards' days in the ring are seemingly over, but he is looking ahead to the next chapter of his life, and it remains to be seen what's next for him. It was in the summer of 2020 that Roman Reigns returned to WWE programming after opting to take time away due to the pandemic and his immunocompromised status. When Reigns returned, he aligned with Paul Heyman and became the Tribal Chief, a role that has been a hit with fans, but whose idea was it for this transformation to happen? During his recent appearance on Rick Rubin's Tetragrammation podcast, Paul Heyman discussed Reigns' metamorphosis in 2020 and said that it was Vince McMahon's actions that led to the two being paired together. He explained, "Vince removes me as executive director in June of 2020, and I thought I had a bunch of months left on my contract and I was going to ride it out and we'll see where we go from there. There were limited options in my agreement as to whom WWE could put me with. When I had the leverage, I wrote that in because we had reached a point with the cachet of being Brock Lesnar's advocate that anybody else you put me with could either make them instantly a star or you're watering me down, and ultimately hurting the other person because they don't belong with me. They don't measure up to where you're used to seeing my character bring someone down to the ring, which is either the main event of WrestleMania or close to it." One of the few names on this list was Roman Reigns. Another was Brock Lesnar, obviously. Another was Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was having a baby, Brock Lesnar wasn't coming back with Saudi being down. That kind of left Roman Reigns in there. Had McMahon not removed Heyman as Raw's executive director, it is possible that Reigns would still be the smiling babyface that struggled to win over audiences for years and years. Instead, Reigns has become one of WWE's most dominant and popular heels, and it goes to show the ripple effects that McMahon's decisions can have over the entire WWE. This week, the wrestling world lost the iconic Iron Sheik, who died at the age of 81. Of all the Sheik's many memorable moments, perhaps the biggest came in January 1984 when he lost the WWF title to Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster's first win, and the day that Hulkamania was officially born. Several wrestling personalities took to social media to share their tributes, and on his Facebook, Hogan described Sheik as a wrestling icon and a true legend. Hogan reflected fondly on the many times the pair shared the ring and said that they shared a bond that only a few wrestlers can understand. Sheik's legacy, according to Hogan, will continue to inspire generations of wrestlers to come, and the two-time Hall of Famer concluded by calling his old nemesis a warrior of the ring. The Iron Sheik will always be remembered as one of the most iconic wrestlers of his day, and our thoughts remain with those who knew him at this time. For years, Charlotte Flair has been one of the top names in WWE's women's division, though we haven't seen the Queen on TV since WrestleMania. In her time away, Flair has been doing her own thing, and a recent post on Instagram has had fans talking. When Flair uploaded a throwback photo of herself and her husband Andrade holding the NXT Women's title and US title respectively, fans speculated about the meaning of the post, especially ahead of Andrade's involvement with the upcoming AEW Collision. Last year, it was rumored that Andrade was trying to get out of AEW in order to return to WWE, and while that hasn't happened, Charlotte hasn't forgotten about being in WWE alongside her husband. And we're ending with NXT, and when the show revamped into NXT 2.0, an edict was made stating that at least one main roster superstar had to appear every single week. Even after NXT 2.0 became NXT again, this rule has remained in place, with Mustafa Ali, Baron Corbin, and Dana Brooke all appearing on the latest episode. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer stated that it was Nick Khan's idea to bring in so many main roster superstars to NXT, with the main reason being to boost ratings. Khan's goal is for the ratings to be so good by September 2024 that the USA Network will offer WWE more money to retain the broadcast rights to NXT, or that a competing network will offer even more. There are obviously some non-financial benefits to main roster talent working with NXT, including giving the superstars of tomorrow the opportunity to learn from established talent. Whether Khan's plan succeeds or not, it's too early to say at this juncture, but as long as there's money to be made, expect main roster superstars every Tuesday night on WWE NXT.